Welcome, everyone. My name is Devin Little, and this is the Hockey Writers Grind Line, the Red Wings roundtable for the hockey writers. For the past 5 years, the Grind Line has been a weekly column for the hockey writers, a weekly written column at that. And now we're here to talk some Red Wings hockey. We're excited for another opportunity to discuss the latest Red Wings news, rumors, and strategy with the Hockeytown faithful. We are recording this episode on the 24th anniversary of Fight Night at the Joe, the legendary brawl between the Colorado Avalanche and the Detroit Red Wings. So today, the name of our show means just a little more. So, including myself, let's introduce our version of Chris Draper, Kirk Maltby, and Darren McCarty, starting with Patrick Brown. Pat, how are you doing on this famous day?
I am doing great. Happy Turtle Day to you.
Turtle Day.
One of my favorites. It's been 24 years? Is that what you said? I rocking the 1997, 96, 97 locker room hat. Yes, the tags are still on there. I've had this hat since 7th grade, and I'm going to have it for the rest of my life. So happy Turtle Day. What a great way to start the weekend with you guys, and looking forward to another show.
Love that. Can't get enough of it. And then over in the other corner, we have the one, the only Mr. Kyle Knopp. Kyle, how you doing today? Happy Turtle Day to you as well.
Happy Turtle Day. I'm doing well, thank you. I cannot believe it has been 24 years since that fateful night at the Joe, but I mean, it just brings back a rush of memories and was really the turning point in our franchise in the late 90s and early 2000s. So it's a fun day to celebrate, and hopefully we can see some of that same spark and energy in the next couple games.
Oh yeah, they could use it. Speaking of the reason why we need a spark, this past week of Red Wings hockey was not fun. So let's talk about it for at least a little bit. The Red Wings all of a sudden cannot score unless your name is Robbie Fabry. They can't prevent goals unless your name is Jonathan Bernier. And all around, when you've got the Nashville Predators making you look like an AHL team, you're not in a good spot. Pat, I want to start with you. What have your thoughts been on the Red Wings this past week?
Frustrating, incredibly frustrating, considering, refresh my memory, was it a 3-0 lead on Dallas that they had?
Yes.
And then
yes.
So they gave up 2 straight goals in that game, despite the fact that they won. And we were all feeling good after that game, which was last Thursday.
Yep.
And then didn't score, and then didn't score, and then got one, but there are already 4 against them after giving up a hat trick in the first 9 minutes of yesterday's game, which it's happened before. A little piece of trivia that, Devin, I know we shared on Twitter, but 21 seconds is the record for the fastest hat trick. Insane, by the way. But so I just don't feel like I've ever seen it happen that fast in any game that I've ever watched live. But I don't have an answer. They were playing good hockey. They were putting pucks on the net. They were exiting the zone very well. And they stopped doing all that. A lot of the goals they've given up have been from sloppy turnovers in their own zone. There was some puck luck that Nashville had on at least one of those goals that was at such a ridiculous angle. I can't even figure out how that puck went in, but that resulted from a turnover behind the net. You hate to say, it's hard to sit here and say you're not scoring because of turnovers, but to me, that's how it feels. They're not taking care of the puck. They are not gaining the zone. They are not doing all of the things that they were doing during what we would say is a successful run when they had won 3 out of 4 games just a week ago. I don't think it's the opponent, because they beat more capable teams than Nashville. No offense, Smashville. No offense. Don't send me hate comments, but we're not talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning here that they're struggling to score against. So it's a bit perplexing. It's a bit frustrating, but at the end of the day, I think they're just not generating enough chances. They're not taking care of the puck, and they're not winning the small battles that they need to win hockey games.
For sure. Kyle, what have your thoughts been this week? What do you think is the root cause of the Red Wings struggles?
Yeah, I think Pat did a great job on touching on a lot of those things. And, it comes down to the fundamentals of the game. We just don't seem to be executing him right now. And that's leading to those turnovers, that miscommunication. A lot of those just little things that once you start tightening those up, your game just kind of naturally evolves from there. I do want to touch back on last Saturday's game real quick. They were buzzing in the first period. The boys were out. They were putting some pressure on, creating some chances. They were looking good. Looked really sloppy in that second, and that just kind of gave all the momentum to Dallas, and they just ran into a really hot Hobby Bullen. He just was unreal on Saturday, and they came back and did make a push in that third, but it just wasn't enough to generate any scoring in that game. And then against Nashville, Grice played really well in that first 2-0 game. I did have a couple nits to pick with that second goal. He does kind of overcommit. And then as the puck comes back around, he gets out of position, sliding back across the crease. But for the most part in that game, I mean, he was phenomenal. He really kept it in there, kept it a 1-goal game. I mean, the Roman Josi blast off the point, it just had no chance at. But really, that game was a winnable game. We just weren't getting the opportunities. We weren't capitalizing on those chances. And then I don't even know what to say about yesterday's game. I mean, Rocco Grimaldi named his stick Trudy, and she just beat the whatever out of us. It was just unreal. So I wish I could point to something yesterday, but I think besides the lack of communication and just not executing the fundamentals really just hurt us.
Yeah, I have to say I agree. The Red Wings, when they've been successful this season, it's come from a point of strong defensive play, and that's allowed them to capitalize on the chances that you get. So when you're allowing a hat trick in the first 9 minutes, like Pat said, that's not strong defensive play, and you're pretty much buried from the get-go. And that's kind of what that game looked like. As soon as they were down, 4-0, it was pretty much just, all right, we got 50 minutes to kill. Let's try.
Yeah. Well, and it was they scored a power play goal, I believe, too, right?
Yep.
And then and then they gave up a goal that
like 30 seconds later.
40 seconds later that ended up getting disallowed. And I don't understand, total side note, but I don't understand why that review took so long. It was pretty clear that puck came out of the zone, but the point is they gave it right back, and they got lucky. It's funny, you leave the first period down 4-1. Usually you feel pretty bad about it. You almost felt good heading into the second period, thinking
it wasn't 5-1.
Yeah, exactly. But just brutal.
Yeah, for sure. Before we pivot to our next topic, I do want to kind of throw it out there. Do you guys have anybody that you kind of want to highlight from this past week for either their good play or their bad? Kyle, I'll start with you.
I kind of want to pull out the forwards, especially in the last game. They just weren't, like we talked about. It's executing the fundamentals, executing just the basic plays of hockey. Zadina in that one to cap off the hat trick goal just didn't get back into the play, stopped its feet. Just didn't come back through, didn't finish his shift, and you can't have that happen, especially against a hot team that is just feeling it. And so there's quite a few times, just the communication. And then, to be honest, Devin, I know this might get you going. I kind of want to call out Blashill a little bit. He didn't really do anything to switch up. He didn't do anything to switch up his combinations. We're coming off 2 games with no goals, and there wasn't any type of internal spark to say, hey, we got to do something different, boys.
Yeah. And
it wasn't there. And then what happens? We get spanked 7-1. So, that's got to fall on him a little bit. To what degree is personal opinion, but I think he definitely needs to take some responsibility.
Yeah, no, I can get behind that. The only meaningful change they made from last night's game to the games before was they swapped out Chalowski for Juice, and obviously that did not work. To whoever's credit, apparently they had a very hard and intense practice today. So good. They did not
Yeah, I
work
saw that as
yesterday,
well.
so they're going to work today. So
Sure.
kudos to that. Pat, do you have
Goal
any-
line?
Yes,
That one.
Exactly. Again, you know the scene.
Herbies.
Pat, do you have any standouts you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, well, first of all, Kyle, with regards to your Zadina comment, yeah, he was on spring break on the beach somewhere instead of playing defense there. I don't know, maybe he was on Herb Brooks' team, checking out the fans, and well, there are no fans, but he wasn't present at that game, that's for sure. Now I want to go watch Miracle. But anyways, standouts, honestly, I don't really have many. I would say, again, Dylan Larkin continues to bring energy, continues to try to make things happen. When things are going wrong, he continues to try to put the team on his back, which is what you want your captain to do. And then arguably more important than any of that, in my opinion, is the fact that he's a man and he answers all these questions after the game. And he's got to be sick of answering these questions, but he continues to answer these questions. And it starts with him. And he says, I'm not executing. We're not executing. Who does that sound like? I mean, if that doesn't sound like Stevie Y back in the mid to late 90s when the Red Wings were starting to get good, but not just get over the hump, and he would say, I have to get better, we have to get better. And that's what Larkin's doing. So, even though the play hasn't been there and it's been not even fun to watch hockey this past week, it's nice to see Larkin doing the little things right, both on and off the ice. And that's who I would call out and why I would call that out.
I just want to point out real quick that a week ago we were talking about how much fun we're having watching hockey, and now 1 week later we're saying it's not fun to watch. Like
1 week later, we'd rather be doing Herbies.
Yeah, it changes that quickly. From my point, I want to highlight, I guess low light. I don't know what you want to call it. The play of Grice. To his credit, when Bernier was out the first time, I think he played a lot of games where he kept the Wings in more than he kept them out of it. But I think there's a very I feel very confident in saying that Bernier is the top option in this team when it comes to goaltending. And that's not necessarily a slight to Grice. I just and it doesn't help that he gets no goal support, and that's a fact. But it helps when you have a goalie that isn't due for a soft goal every time he takes the crease, and that seems to be the case right now. But
can I get one more Miracle reference in before we move on? Because
please,
I just want to. I just want to.
If there's anything that this team needs, it's a miracle. So please,
Jimmy Craig,
I just want to say you just gave up 10 goals, Jim. Right now, it's everybody's net.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. So we're talking about this Nashville series. We were talking about last night's game, but the game before was kind of controversial, not just for Nashville and Detroit, but for the whole league. Official Tim Peel got caught on a hot mic, as they like to say, essentially saying that he called the penalty on Nashville to even out things. Right? It wasn't necessarily he said it was a soft call. There wasn't much, is what he said, but I was trying to get a effing call on Nashville. And the league has since suspended him. He will not be officiating a game. This was going to be his last year in the league, so he is done as an official. Now, since then, I think literally last night there was a referee, and I don't remember what game it was, but it was Toronto. It was Toronto because he was explaining something to Wayne Simmons, and he had his hand over his mic explaining what he was explaining. So now you have kind of this dynamic where officials maybe are just trying to hide what they do instead of doing the right thing, right? So this is a two-part question for you guys. My first question is, do you think that the NHL did the right thing in regards to the Tim Peel situation? And then the second thing is, how do we feel about refereeing in the league as a whole? Obviously, from game to game, the standard changes. That's just kind of how any sport is. There's a human dynamic to it, right? But do you feel like refereeing in the NHL is at a good point, or do you think that there are improvements to make? Kyle, I want to start with you on this one.
Yeah, so I mean, first off, I think the NHL just swept it under the rug as much as they could. He got suspended. He's not doing any more games. He's not working, but he's still retiring. He's still getting his pension. Nothing was changed. Nothing was addressed. Last I know, they didn't even release a statement saying, yeah, this is kind of how we manage games, and this is, kind of the norm. Like, they just threw it under the rug and hoped that we all forgot about it. And as hockey fans, this is something that, especially since the clutching and grabbing started getting away from it after the last lockout, it was really becoming a focal point. And so now people have always suspected that there were these phantom calls, makeup calls, or whatever. And now it's just kind of the NHL's non-comment is almost saying yes without saying yes. So, I mean, obviously, hockey it's a fluid game. It's ever evolving. The players I coach, I try to teach them, like, I can tell you what you should do in a situation, but until you're in that game situation, you have to read the play and react. It's no different for the refs, and they are human, like you said. Do I think they need to get rid of the ticky-tacky 1-for-1 calls? Absolutely. But I don't want them to just have a written rule and then have to abide by that at all times, or else it would start to get into the slowed down, stick in a muck type game, and that wouldn't be any fun, and that would not bring any new fans to the game.
Yeah, I agree with that. Pat, what do you think?
Well, first, like Kyle said, Tim Peel was let off the hook because he's retiring, and so that was an easy way for the NHL to handle it and just say, that's it. Thanks for the time, Tim. Appreciate your service. We'll see you on the sunset. That said, I'll be brutally honest. Doesn't bother me at all. What Tim Peel said during the game doesn't bother me at all. Knowing that it happens in the league doesn't bother me at all. And spoiler alert, I'm sure it happens in pretty much every league. Yeah. I'm sure when somebody takes a hard foul in the NBA, there's a tic-tac call. Of course, arguably every call in the NBA is tic-tac, but that's beside the point. It doesn't bother me. I still think about, like, watching games with my brother, like, especially in the playoffs, which seems so long ago. But either a bad call or a missed call, right? You see somebody get hooked behind the play and everybody's standing up and yelling. Scotty Bowman used to say, you're going to get rabbit ears from the refs. And it's true, because you'd see a missed call and I'd look at my brother and I'd go, we'll get a makeup call. It benefits every team just as it's a detriment to every team in the league. I feel as if it's even. I feel as if hockey polices itself for the most part, which is another great thing about the sport, is that if anything completely atrocious happens, you send your grinders on the ice and take care of it yourself. So hockey polices itself. Well, and we say this, by the way, on March 26th. And even if it takes almost a year, hockey polices itself. I hope you're watching, Claude.
300 plus days.
But we'll have
to put a tag on him so he sees it.
There you go. I understand all the arguments. I understand why people are, I guess, upset about this sort of thing. But even though it happens, I don't think I've ever thought, well, that's egregious. Like, even when he called the penalty, when you watch it, yeah, it was embellished for sure. But had that hot mic not caught it, nobody would have thought anything. The Wings didn't score on the power play. The game got evened up, so nobody's going to chirp on either side about that because the game got evened up, and that's it. Yeah. So, to be honest, and I may be in the minority here, and I'm okay with that, but it doesn't bother me. It happens. It's going to continue to happen, and this isn't the only sport where it happens.
Pat Brown, no stranger to hot takes, right?
Is that a hot take?
Yeah. If you're in the minority, right?
And I don't know if I am or not, but everybody's really called Peel out. Everybody's really called Peel out. So I'm not necessarily defending him.
Yeah,
I'm more or less saying it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop.
To fry.
Yeah.
So from my point, I think you both more or less touched on a really good point. This has happened in the past. This is happening in games right now, I'm sure, and this is going to happen in games in the future. The key thing with this situation is that there was a hot mic. It got caught. The cat is out of the bag.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things about playoff hockey is that the whistle tends to get put away.
Yeah, like overtime, especially overtime.
Yeah. And I think to a certain point, that's good. Kyle mentioned, that slows down the game when you're calling a bunch of penalties, and that's not the most viewable thing. And when it comes to playoff hockey, they pretty much only call the crazy things, and those are the things that you should call.
Right.
But I get why this is a big deal. The league is now really starting to embrace sports betting. And if you have referees directly impacting games, you're messing with people's money. And when you're messing with people's money, things get ugly. Now, like Pat just said, it happens in literally every league. And I don't think that the NHL needs to treat the situation like they're the only league in the world where it happens. But I can understand why there sort of needs to be a I guess long story short, I don't think that this is the end of this situation. I'm glad that I don't have to be the person that has to figure out how to right the ship here.
Yeah.
But I do think that something needs to come of it. I just hope that it's not anything too I hope they don't overcorrect, I guess.
Devin, can I add one more thing really quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
You hit the nail on the head with betting.
Yeah.
Right. And where you start to be concerned even about the makeup call is if that impacts the outcome of the game.
Yep.
But even so, potentially the missed call that the makeup call is for could also have impacted the outcome of the game when a penalty should have been called. So there's two ways to look at it. I think as long as your referees aren't betting, there's no problem. There's no problem as long as your referees aren't participating in betting, which, by the way, they shouldn't be doing anyways, regardless of whether they're making makeup calls or not. So that's the last thing I have to say about it. You nailed it with betting for sure.
For sure. Any final thoughts on this topic?
No, I mean, like Pat said, it's something that's probably not going to go away. This is something, all hockey fans have kind of gotten used to and need to continue to just expect. It's going to be there in the game. And maybe we'll get more hot mic incidences with everything being more wired now, but I don't see anything changing.
Yeah, the NHL is very well known for how progressive they are when it comes to making things change. So, yeah, I'm not betting on it either. We want to thank you. Betting, yes. Thank you for tuning in and sharing some of your time with us. If you're enjoying our banter and our conversation here, I highly encourage you to subscribe to the Hockey Writers YouTube channel. Go ahead and follow us over at Facebook as well. Drop a like on this video if you're enjoying it, and go ahead and get engaged in the comment section. We like seeing those comments. I saw a few of them. I saw our last video had a few comments on there. Sorry, we did not actually say why Ian left. I did see that comment. That is, in my opinion, that's Ian's news to share. So I will not be the one to share it. Sorry about that. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. And yeah, let's jump back into the show. So for the last half of this show, we are going to be putting on our GM hats. I'm happy that Pat already has a hat on. Kyle and I both don't have hats on, but we're going to put our metaphorical hats on.
Well, I could should I put my Ken Holland GM hat on? I could do that. No? Okay.
We want you to GM like a champion, okay?
Somewhere Ian just lost all control and started laughing, and he doesn't know why. But that's beside the point.
My boy Ian. All right. So obviously we are now less than a month from the trade deadline. We just had a big deal done today where the Canadians acquired Eric Stahl. So that might be the first real domino to fall. So trades are coming, and I assume from now, between now and the actual deadline, we're going to be talking about this sort of thing on this show on a regular basis. So look forward to that, folks. We're going to talk about a few pieces that ran in The Athletic this week. And this first one, our newbie here, Kyle, actually has some unique insight into the situation, given that he came to us from the Tampa Bay team over at the Hockey Writers. The piece in question kind of dissected whether or not Tampa Bay and Detroit would make for good trading partners. And I think that that's kind of a logical connection to make for many reasons. I'm sure we'll touch on that. Kyle, just given the nature of the topic, I want to start with you. First and foremost, do you see Tampa Bay and Detroit as a potential match at the deadline? And if so, what do you think that a match could be?
Yeah. So, earlier this week when we saw this piece come out, my initial thought was, that's nice in a different reality, but with the salary cap woes that the Lightning have, this just isn't going to work. Fast forward a couple days later, and they have traded Alexander Volkov to make some room, which makes it kind of seem like they may now be a buyer at the deadline, depending on what type of deal they could see. I don't see them being too aggressive. I'm sure if they're looking for anything, it's probably to strengthen the right side of their D. They don't really have, they have Eric Cernak and Jan Ruda, who are two good players. They're coming into their own. Ruda's a little older, Cernak's young. But they need a, right-handed puck-moving D. And so now with this space, someone that was kind of getting thrown around was possibly Troy Stetcher. So I don't see it actually happening, but if, Brisebois were to come to Yzerman, I think that would probably be the main topic of their conversation.
That makes sense. And he's on a cheap deal too. I personally, I'd hate to see Stetcher leave, but if the price is right, and real quick, I just have to give a shout out to Cal Foote, who plays for Tampa Bay, since we are here on this certain anniversary, and his father definitely had a role in that fabled game. Pat, what do you think about Tampa Bay and Detroit as a potential trade deadline match?
I was not a big Adam Foote fan, but why would I have been, I suppose? That's a great shout out, though. Well done, Devin. Well done. That's a great shout out. Everything Kyle said in terms of, I think that makes sense. They need a good, right side. Stetcher fits the bill. I think Boltman threw out a first rounder and Radish. Is that how you say it?
Radish, yeah.
Which I mean, how would you not jump at that? I don't care if the first rounder is number 32.
Yeah.
I think you jump at any first rounder, regardless. So I would certainly be enticed. I don't necessarily know if Tampa's going to give up that much, depending on what they do offer. I think you listen, but you got to listen to around the league. You got to see what everybody's going to be willing to give up. So. That would certainly be a move. The Wings have plenty of space to retain salary wherever they might send anyone. So, that may play a role as well. But I don't really have much to add off of what Kyle said because, you hit the nail on the head. And frankly, Kyle's a Tampa Bay expert, if you will. So I would not step on his toes there.
For my point, I
don't know about that, but
for my point, I just want to kind of throw out that whether it fully makes sense or not, I feel like the Red Wings are going to be connected to two teams when it comes trade deadline time for the foreseeable future, and that is Tampa Bay and Edmonton. Tampa Bay because of the Steve Yzerman connection, and Edmonton because of the Ken Holland connection. I saw a rumor somewhere a day or two ago that Kenny might be interested in bringing Glendening to Edmonton, and I think that is very much a Ken Holland move. So if that were to happen, I wouldn't be surprised.
What else would we classify as Ken Holland moves? I'm excited.
Trading for Andreas Athanasiou, trying 2 seconds and then playing him for like 9 games. Yeah. Detroit won
Classic
that deal.
Ken. Classic Ken.
Yeah, the list goes on.
David
yeah.
Legwand, anybody? Oh.
David Legwand.
Anyway.
Yeah, I feel like we're still feeling that one. Anywho, just to kind of close out the Tampa Bay thing, I think that Kyle did hit the nail on the head. I think that salary is going to play a huge part in whether or not they do anything. If they add anything, it will be probably kind of like when they added Zach Bogosian last year. He came on a cheap deal and he gave them a veteran dude that fortified their decor. I think that is more of a move that they'll be looking to make. And I don't know if they'll be getting that guy from the Red Wings. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah. They got Bogosian and they got Shattenkirk late in the season last year too, which was a huge right-handed D presence, who may be available out in Anaheim again. I don't know. They might be sellers as well, but last year they had a lot more room with the cap space to work. Yep. This year it's a lot tighter. Volkov moving definitely helps with that. Especially getting Stevens back soon on the fourth line, and Kucherov's going to be back right at the beginning of playoffs too. So that's going to have a nice little trickle down effect for their, top and middle six. So I think the only move Tampa does make that makes sense is the right-handed D. I just don't know if Detroit's the place they get it.
Yeah, let's not discount the fact that even if they make no moves, they're getting Nikita Kucherov back by playoff time, and that's that's a hell of an addition. All right, so for the next portion of our little GM games, there was another article. This one was by Craig Custance, and essentially they gathered. I'm sure they were reader proposals, and they ran them by like legitimate NHL executives. And they kind of determined whether or not the deal made sense one way or another. And the Red Wings' Anthony Mantha was the subject of 3 of those offers. So what I want to do for this part is I'm going to run the deals mentioned in the article by both of you guys. And I want you to tell me if you would take the deal or not take the deal, and then a quick kind of elaboration on why or why not. So our first deal is Mantha to the Carolina Hurricanes for defenseman Jake Bean, a 2021 first, and a conditional 2022 third. Pat, do you take the deal?
Give me those magic beans. I take it.
And okay, I love it. Kyle, what about you?
I mean, that's one of those borderline ones, but I think it's tough to pass up a up and coming D prospect to really shore up our defense. That's going to be something we definitely need in the future. Getting another number one is, like you said earlier, that's the goal. If we can get that in any deal, we want to look at that. And a conditional third could really, really turn out pretty well in the next couple of years if Carolina needs to go through a rebuild or something. If we're talking, you said 2025.
22.
So so like 2. Oh, okay. So it's only 1 year. Sorry. So that could be a little lower than we expect or hope, but Yzerman has really good success in finding those mid-round picks that make an impact. So I think we have to pull the trigger.
For me, first of all, I've said it before. My wish list item is another first round pick.
Yep.
So that alone gets me at least to consider it. And then I am a huge Jake Bean fan. He's kind of endured what Dennis Cholowski has endured here in Detroit, where he's just been buried. But he's been buried in Carolina because they have like the best defensive core in the league, not because they have a bunch of veterans blocking him. Jake Bean is a very good defensive prospect. So if you get him a first and another thing, I'm taking it.
Yep. Right. I know I didn't elaborate, but you said it all, Devin. And that first rounder really whets the appetite with anyone.
I wanted to ask for an elaboration, but you said, give me the magic beans. And I felt like that said it all.
There you go.
So next deal, this one is 1-for-1 and it's with Montreal. Very different than the Montreal deal I worked out, but let's see what you guys think. Kyle, we're gonna start with you on this one. 1-for-1, Mantha to Montreal for Cole Caulfield.
Ooh.
For anyone who's unfamiliar, Cole Caulfield was drafted first round, I think, a year or two ago. Very small, very Alex DeBrincat like. He likes to score, and he's very good at it. Go ahead, Kyle. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I agree. He's been a great young player. He's dynamic to watch. He's electric. He finds open space on the ice and knows how to score goals. He's complete opposite from Mantha, being a giant who just motors people over on the ice and who is also fun to watch, but for different reasons. But I mean, could you imagine Caulfield on a wing with Larkin and or Fabry? I mean, that could be something special. So I heard Montreal said they would look at trading anyone not named Caulfield. So I really don't see this being something that happens. But if this is actually on the table, I think you have to go for it.
I'm just going to give my piece right now. I think that I would take this deal, but I don't think that Montreal offers it because Caulfield's a very good prospect. Pat, what do you think?
Yeah, and they don't want to absorb that Mantha contract right now either. I would absolutely take it. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. The article even mentions that there would have to be more to it because Montreal's too tight against the cap. But
sure. Okay, yeah. And Caulfield,
almost have to retain most of his stuff.
And Caulfield's an RFA, I assume, whenever he's up. So
I'm not sure that he's even signed an ELC.
I think
he hasn't burnt. He's still at the University of Wisconsin right now. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can't. It doesn't. I don't see how that happens. Yeah. But you take it if it's offered, and you don't give him a chance to hang up the phone.
Yes. Deal. Finally to the league offices right now.
Yeah, you fax that over before you're even up.
With a recording that they offered it. All right, last deal here. This one is also 1-for-1, but a little bit different. Mantha is going to the Colorado Avalanche, once again referencing this day. This time for Bowen Byram. He was the 4th overall pick in 2019, picked 2 spots before Moritz Seider. Pat, what do you think? Mantha for Byram?
I mean, I think, again, these are enticing deals. But for me, if I'm trading Mantha, to be honest, I'm probably more interested in bringing on more assets for me to pick and develop. I get it. I hate to. It'd be kind of funny to see Mantha playing with Colorado, I guess, but I don't think I'd pull the trigger. I think I'm looking for more assets to add. I think I'm looking for more than a 1-to-1 deal. And I don't think I take that deal.
Kyle, what do you think?
I completely agree with Pat. It's a very interesting offer. It's something that definitely opens eyes and makes you kind of think about, but I think it would need to be sweetened on Colorado's end. I think they would need to send back a 3rd or 4th, at least. Byram's a good D. He's a good prospect. He'll probably develop into something, mid to top level on the back end, but he's not a Makar. And I think without another piece in which Yzerman gets to put into his own puzzle, that's just not the deal.
So, to kind of compare this to the Carolina deal that was first, I like Byram more than I like Bean. But I like that Bean came with a 1st and a 3rd.
Yeah.
It's just those little extra. You're getting 3 players. You're not just getting 1. Even as much as you might like the player you are getting, you're getting also these matched beans. Byram and Seider would probably be the Red Wings' top D pair for the next 10 to 15 years. And you could be confident about that. But to both of your points, I like to squeeze deals for all they're worth. Even if you can throw in an extra sixth, I want that extra sixth because you know what? This team still needs as many prospects and as many kids that are coming up through the pipeline as possible. So if you can sweeten it just a little more, if this was NHL 21, my response would be the value is just a little too low for me. It's close, but it's just a little too low.
I like it.
So my final little point on this one, you guys actually aren't aware of this one, so sorry, but my question to both of you, catch you both off guard, of the trade targets on this team that we kind of assume are going to be our trade bait, right? Which do you think is not going to be dealt by the deadline? We mentioned Bobby Ryan, we mentioned Mark Stahl, we mentioned Sam Gagner, and the list goes on. Luke Glendening. There's a lot of guys that we kind of assume are going to be gone, but is there any one of them that you think will not be dealt? Pat, starting with you.
That's a great question. A couple of names pop into my head, but my bottom two would probably be Gagner and Glendening. And if I had to pick, I'd probably say Glendening. And I know we all know at this point his face-off percentage and everything else. I also just don't think at the deadline there's necessarily that high of a demand for a fourth line center, regardless of his face-off winning ability. Prove me wrong. Would love to see a good return. We thought Montreal was a decent pairing, and obviously that's not going to happen now with them getting Stahl. So I think we see Glendening still a Red Wing after the deadline.
Kyle, what do you think? Who is not leaving Hockey Town?
Yeah, so I'm going to say the same two names Pat did, except I'm going to do it a little bit differently because Gagner is going to be here and Glendening's going to be gone. I think you make a great point, Pat, but all the chatter I've been hearing around the league is everyone is just loving on Glendening and what he can bring to a team late in a game and just solidify those bottom six roles. And that can be very important and overlooked in a long playoff run. One team I heard a lot of chatter about him going to is actually Vegas. They're very high on him out there and, would really like to plug him in a bottom six. They're also interested in Bobby Ryan, which, I think he's another one that's for sure going to be gone. I think Bernier could end up being a Red Wing still, but that will also depend on his injury. But I think Gagner is definitely a Red Wing. And then I'm going to go and say we're going to end up keeping Stahl. I think there'll be some lukewarm interest in him, but I don't think it will be enough to really pull the trigger. And I think Stahl will still be a Red Wing come April 13th.
So for me, my answer yesterday would have been Stahl, or it wouldn't have been Stahl. Today it is Stahl, and it's because he got injured during last night's game. Now I don't know how severe it is, but I can only assume that teams are not lining up to acquire an injured 33, 34-year-old who makes $5.7 million. So now I could be wrong. If it's a short-term injury, like he's just gonna miss a game or two, then yeah, I still think there's gonna be a market for him.
Devin, what would it have been before yesterday? I'm just curious.
It depends on what we're defining as a surefire trade piece, right? But my answer would have been Gagner or Bernier, one of the two. Sure. And even then I still kind of include Bernier in the bunch. I think he if this team needs a guy that they can lean on to be a goalie while they still figure out who they want for the future, why not have the guy that is the only guy who can win them games lately, right?
Sure.
And the goalie market could be very, very interesting this year. There's that too. So yeah, Stahl and Bernier for me are my two keepers, I guess.
Man, it'd be amazing. Nothing would make me happier to see Stahl go, not because of anything with him, but because that would mean we got a second rounder out of him. We got a serviceable defenseman for almost the entire year.
Yep.
And then you're going to get another something for him. And boy, would that just be a killer return for just taking a player.
That is called having your cake and eating it too.
Yeah, for sure.
Any final thoughts that you guys have just kind of been thinking about in regards to the deadline?
I'm excited, actually. It's funny. I used to be excited for totally different reasons. Who are the Red Wings going to get?
Yeah.
99, they got Chelios. There were, there were a couple of unheralded ones like Wendell Clark, those deals. And that's what it used to be. And now I'm like, ooh, how many more draft picks we're going to get? What a difference 20 years makes, I suppose.
Yep. Now I remember being through the roof when they picked up Todd Bertuzzi in 2007.
Yeah.
Kyle, any last thoughts?
No, I mean, strap yourselves in because this is Yzerman's ride and we're all just going to be a part of it. And I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see what returns we get on the guys we do move. I'm excited to see any, returns on players that might come in on any moves. I just hope whatever happens after the deadline, we continue to be, positive in terms of just playing hard and working on that development for the team and having that compete level, because it could be real easy to ship a few guys out of the locker room and then just have the rest of the team come in and be like, well, we've got one more month. Let's just get through this. So as long as that doesn't happen, if guys are still buying in, then that's all we can really ask for.
Couldn't agree more. And for my point, I just I'm really curious to see who fills the spots as they start to deal these players away. So that's what obviously I'm really curious to see what they get in these trades, but more importantly, I want to see who gets these opportunities that are going to start sprouting up.
Yeah.
So that is
sorry to cut you off. Who is your who do you think is the guy that benefits the most from if, say, 3 or 4 guys move at the deadline?
So it depends on what 3 or 4 guys, right? Because if the whole blue line got dealt away, then obviously we're talking about Cholowski, we're talking about Lidstrom, we're talking about but and I mean he's already starting to get the opportunity now. He's been in the lineup for the past 4 games or whatever. But like Michael Rasmussen, he's gonna get I think at that point he's got a roster spot locked down once there's no one around him to push him out. And then also ideally Giovanni Smith, but we'll see if that's the case.
Yeah,
Calvin Pickard.
My hope.
Calvin Pickard.
You didn't get enough of seeing him yesterday?
How could you not feel bad for him? Welcome to the game. Here's an impossible save. Oh, look, it's 5-1. No, or whatever. Anyways, sorry.
I hope it's Giovanni Smith as well. I really want to see. I really want to see him get more time at the big club, and really excited to see what he can do. So that's what I was kind of leaning toward. I'm hoping that we see more of him, but I just wanted to get your thoughts and put you on the spot as well.
I've been on the spot. Captain Picard did not come to save the day, by the way. So that is our show. Thank you once again for tuning in and listening to us talk some Red Wings hockey. If you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and drop a like right down there, or drop a like right over there if you're on Facebook, and drop a comment. Follow us on Facebook. Give us a subscription on YouTube. There's a lot more content than just the Red Wings stuff. If you like your Canadian teams, we got Oilers Overtime and Maple Leafs Lounge. If you like your Midwest teams, we got Blackhawks Banter, and the list just goes on. We've got some great content here at the Hockey Writers, and of course, go check out our written work. I know I'm a lot better with my words when I write them than when I talk them. So check me out there, please. So for Pat, Kyle, and myself, once again, thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you very much.